Hello again, I'm Robert Fithen, and today I want to talk about this thing. This is the Beatles' 1964 US albums in mono box set that was just released, containing, well, the US 1964 Capitol albums, also the soundtrack to A Hard Day's Night that was on United Artists, and also the early Beatles album, which actually came out in 1965, but contained a lot of music from 1963, so I guess that kind of averages out to be 1964. So 7 albums in all. This thing retails for right around $300. So that would be about $43 per album in this box set. Now, the Beatles Story is in here, which is a double album, but still, $43 an album averaging out for this thing. So should you get it? What does it sound like? What are some of the details? I have listened to it, spent all evening and this morning doing that, and I'm here to make my report. This is what the inside of the box looks like. And I want to say right away, no features, no booklet, no pamphlet, no sticker, no anything other than the albums. And you can get all of these separately for less than you would pay for them by buying the box set. The only thing you can't get separately is the Beatles Story, which if you want an original of that or even a repress from 1971 or 1986 or whatever, which by the way was the last year that was released on vinyl, you can get those for about $15 or something like that. So is this worth it? I mean, this is what you get. Also, when you get the box set, the albums in the box set like this, they are not individually sealed. So that is something that you should know. What you do get is a very nice thick cover. I mean, these are quality covers, but they are glossy. They are not the paper that you get when you got the originals or even some of the reissues. These are very glossy. The blacks on here are not exactly black. They're that glossy black that kind of looks like a photo copy. Meet the Beatles, you can see here they've got the Beatles in the brown here. And each album contains a poly-lined inner sleeve that's completely white with sort of a replication of the original Capitol rainbow label. Also, you get a replica of the Capitol, the inner sleeve that Capitol would put out at the time of release. The paper, there's no record or anything in there. And you get this. This is a little insert. Tells you about the release, gives you the track listing, the original number, lets you know that up here these were all from analog tape and it went right from analog right to the disc, so there's no digital in there. Gives you a nice overview of the music and the chart positions and Beatlemania and all that kind of stuff. And each one has like a photo from the original master tape box, the Capitol master tape box. So, I mean, kind of cool. What I wish they would have included in here was a little more information on the actual mastering, what they used as far as was it a real mono mix from the UK or was it a stereo fold down? They don't really do that, though, individually with the tracks, and I wish they would have spent a little more time, because we don't need to read about, chart position. I mean, if you're buying something like this, chances are you already know all about the Beatles, so I wish they would have done that. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about. If you're familiar with the US releases, especially the mono ones, you know that it's a wide variety of ways that they got these songs onto disc, okay? Sometimes they would use the original UK mono mix. Great. Sometimes they would take the stereo mix and fold it down and make a US mono mix. Okay. Sometimes they would take a fake stereo mix, like they had the mono, they made fake stereo out of it with a bunch of echo and everything, and they would mix that back down to mono. Absurd. So you got 3 different ways you can have a mono song on one of these albums, and they're not consistent with, each album has different things going on in it. So, Meet the Beatles. It sounds okay. Of course, the original stereo pressing of this had I Want to Hold Your Hand and This Boy and that fake mono, because that was taken from the single mix. The rest of this sounds, it's the mono mixes. It sounds like they have boosted the bass a little bit, which I saw the documentary on the making of this, and what they said was when they had the original tapes, where I'm talking US Capitol here, not UK, when they had those tapes, they had to sort of roll off a lot of the low end because they didn't want the record skipping on the little kiddie players that these would be playing on. And so with these new reissues, they have freed that bass back up. So you do get to hear Ringo's kick drum a little more. You get to hear the little intricacies of Paul's bass a little bit more than you did in the original mono US albums. So it does sound a little fuller, but it's not quite dynamic, I would say. It is still very kind of fatiguing. It doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound awesome. I think people would get these if they just have nostalgia for these albums and they want absolutely clean, brand new copies. Now, these albums in mono are not difficult to find in the US. Maybe people in other parts of the world would want these just as like a curio or whatever to kind of hear how the US audience has heard the songs in the order with the artwork and all that. But I know in the US, you know, Meet the Beatles in mono is not difficult to find. Again, maybe you want a brand new, spanking brand new copy of this. And as I mentioned, these albums are not individually sealed. That's a big thing with this box set. And these are really, like I said, glossy covers. So if you go taking these out and slipping these back in a lot, you're going to cause little lines all over this, wear all over this. So just be very careful with that. You might want to, I don't know if you can actually get some outer sleeves and put on here, because these are in here pretty tight. I don't know if there's room for that. You might want to just get some, some wax paper type stuff or some sort of poly lining and just slip it between the albums. That might be an idea. But yeah, these are not individually wrapped as the individually sold ones are, obviously. Beatles' second album, same thing. You get the original Capitol inner sleeve, which I believe is the same one as Meet the Beatles. You get the insert here as well. Again, the same blurb on the top on all of them. It's not unique to each release. You get a little less information in this one. Beatles' second album, notoriously bad sounding Capitol album. And I want to mention too that I have all of these already in multiple copies. I don't even know why I got this. I think we're in the age now of just reckless abandon. So I don't know why I got it. I don't have an answer for that. But so yeah, the Beatles' second album, it just doesn't sound great. It sounds like the Beatles' second album in mono. Maybe there's just a touch more bass. I think She Loves You on here and I'll Get You sound a little bit better. But yeah, some of these are the actual mono versions. Like I Call Your Name sounds to me like the UK mono version because it has the cowbell all the way through it. But Money, that's what I want. And what's the other? You Can't Do Thank You Girl. Thank You Girl is definitely, and Money as well, absolutely the stereo mix that Capitol did folded down into mono. So you don't get the Thank You Girl without the, good to be true, wah, 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 with the harmonica. No, it's the stereo version. So that's part of it. So yeah, you get a mishmash on here of different sound qualities, just like you did in the original US release of that. Actually, Beatles 65, when I first got this, Beatles 65 was the very first thing I listened to. I did not listen to these in chronological order because I wanted to hear I Feel Fine. I Feel Fine is going to tell you everything you need to know about how they mastered these. Is I Feel Fine going to be the clean sounding UK mix, or is it going to be that absolutely drenched in reverb US mix? It is the absolutely drenched in reverb US mix. It is the fake stereo mix mixed down to mono. Why would you do that? Because they wanted to make it like it was in the 60s, I guess. I think either way, you're not satisfying people, because if you put the original mono mix on here, then people would have said, well, that's not the way Beatles 65 sounds. I want the way it actually sounds. Again, not a hard album to find in mono in the US. Here's the little insert with that. Again, white polyline sleeves, this insert, and the original, a replica of the original Capitol insert that advertises, a bunch of other Capitol albums. This one... we're all the way up to something new on this one. The Beach Boys concert, the Beach Boys All Summer Long is on here. You got the Four Preps, you got the Shutdown, you got the Beatles songbook from the Holly Ridge Strings. I wonder why they didn't put that in there. That was actually listed on the back of some of their albums. There it is right there. That's on the actual back album cover, the Hollywood Strings thing. Buck Owens, Bobby Darin, Nat King Cole, Al Martino, Peggy Lee, The Funny Girl soundtrack, get them all courtesy of Capitol Records. So yeah, again, the cover, very glossy. The blacks are not true blacks on here. You can tell by their suits. It does, especially this album cover and Something New, kind of do look like photocopies. Not quite as vivid as the original releases. So you do have a hodgepodge of original UK mixes, stereo mixes mixed back down to mono, and like I said, the fake stereo mixes, even such things as I Feel Fine and She's a Woman, fake stereo mixes mixed back down to mono for some reason. Why not just use the mono version? The fake stereo stuff mixed back down to mono usually doesn't happen on songs that were released as singles on these albums, but for some reason, I Feel Fine and She's a Woman is like that. The Beatles' A Hard Day's Night. Now, this is an odd one because this is not a Capitol album. This is a United Artists album. And a lot of the songs on this are also featured on Something New. So I'm not sure it was a great idea to include this. I think this is a missed opportunity. It does, of course, have the United Artists inner sleeve, which, you know, isn't exactly frameable artwork or anything like that. Has the polyline thing, this time no Capitol Rainbow. It has the original United Artists label in there. And you do have the little insert in here as well. Same deal here. You got what the tape box looks like. You got the information there on the track listing and everything. And there you go there. So I'm not sure, because like I said, a lot of these songs are on Something New, which is also in the box. So I'm not really sure why this was important to include. It seems redundant. You do have the George Martin instrumentals on here, which most people could take or leave. This is definitely not a hard album to find in its original mono or stereo for that matter. Yeah, you can find this for like $5 to $8. People just generally don't like this. I do like the cover art though. I think the cover art for this is actually, I like this better than the UK Hard Day's Night cover art, where it's all the little pictures and it's blue. I think this is actually better cover art. You do have a lot of the smaller pictures on the back cover here. But again, you've got on here, Tell Me Why, and I'll Cry Instead, and I Love Her, and If I Fell, and those are all on Something New. I think they missed an opportunity here to put an exclusive album in the box set. I think that would have driven more people to get this. If there was an album in here that they couldn't get anywhere else, you know, there is the redo of the Beatles story, but you can get originals of that. Maybe put an album in here that has the songs from A Hard Day's Night that aren't on Something New, like A Hard Day's Night, I Should Have Known Better, and Can't Buy Me Love. And you can put the George Martin instrumentals on there, that's fine. Put those all on side one, and then side two, maybe put some of the UK mono mixes that are not on these records, like I Feel Fine, She's a Woman, Thank You Girl, you know, You Can't Do That, all those. Make that side B. You could even put Silip Dik on there, because that's not on any of these albums. That was only a single, although Come Keep Me Your Dynahant is on Something New. Something New, if you were going to get one of these albums, individually sold, if you were going to get one of these, and you wanted good sound and whatever, I would get Something New. This is the one where the mono mixes are true mono mixes. I'm much more of a stereo person generally. I love the Beatles stereo. It's what I grew up with. But the mono mixes on here, I definitely prefer more than some of the stereo mixes. If I Fell, mono mix all the way with the single vocal, not the double track weird sounding vocal. Definitely better in mono. The same thing with Tell Me Why. I definitely prefer the mono version of that over the stereo. But 90% of the time when it comes to the Beatles, I like the stereo versions. But if you're going to get one mono album from this collection, I would suggest Something New. Cool artwork here. I've always liked the artwork with the Ed Sullivan Show there and the kind of the rectangles just blasting out of Ringo like that. I thought that's just a really cool photo. Yeah, it's a short album. You know, most of these are short. They have either 12 or 11 songs on it. This one has 11. But yeah, I've always really liked this album. This is one of the first Beatles albums I ever heard. Proper albums. I heard, you know, before that it was a lot of compilations and things. But yeah, Something New would be the one I would suggest as far as sound quality and getting true mono mixes. The Beatles story I heard for the very first time today. This was actually released, and I didn't even realize this until I got into side two. This was actually released on this date 60 years ago. I had waited to hear this album. I always wanted to have like a Beatles album that I'd never heard and wait until I was much older to hear it. I was going to do it on like my 45th birthday or something like that, and that came and went, and it didn't happen. So all these years later, I still have not heard this. Finally heard it literally this morning for the very first time, the Beatles story. And it was just such a wild coincidence. It turned out to be literally on its 60th anniversary. This is the one where you have to have the box set to get this. This is not sold separately, the reissue. Like I said, last time this was pressed on vinyl was 1986. And it's basically a very kind of by the book for the time documentary. You've got the radio DJs speaking in their voice like this, and the Beatles, that kind of thing. And song snippets, basically. And you've got little interview segments that Beatles fans have probably heard 100 times in their actual long form. You just have the snippets here. But it's a nice curio. It's a nice, basically, piece of Beatles history for the U.S. Nice cover, too. I've always liked that cover. The gatefold cover here. Same thing here. They have the original Capitol inner sleeve redone. And this one only, even though it's a double album, it only has one insert. So you don't get two inserts with this, even though it's a double album, you just get the one insert. But cute little fact here about the Beatles story, which I have mentioned before, so if you've heard me tell this before, I apologize, but this is my own little finding, so I just love the fact that I figured this out. Beatles story. Got 3 narrators on here. One of them is named Al Wyman. Al Wyman was also a newscaster in St. Louis for a while. That's why his name sticks out to me. Al Wyman is his name. He's one of the 3 narrators on here. Okay, if you're a big Manson family fanatic and all the Manson stuff that was going on with Charles Manson, here is another Beatles-Manson connection, as if we needed one. Al Wyman, again, one of the narrators on here. He was a newscaster. Before he was in St. Louis, he was in California. His news team he headed this team of investigative reporters who were on the scene and found the bloody clothing that was thrown off the bridge by the Manson family after they committed those murders. Remember, the police went, if you know the story, the police went and looked for it. They could not find it. And Al Wyman's investigative team found that clothing. So the guy who narrates this, at least a third of it, is the guy who found the clothing that the Manson family threw off the bridge in 1969. So there is another very strange Beatles, Charles Manson family connection there. Early Beatles here. This is definitely one of the better sounding Capitol Beatles albums. Again, it's in the 1964's U.S. mono box set. This came out in 1965 with songs from 1963. So, and in some cases, 1962. So I'm not really sure that this fits, but I'm glad it's in there. The more the merrier. Again, with the insert here, letting you know all about why this album exists. And I'm not going to go into all that. You probably know the story about why this is out. It says it right here. 11 of their American hit recordings now on Capitol, because before that they had been released here in the United States on the Chicago VJ label, and the album was introducing the Beatles, and it was basically our version of the Please Please Me album. So again, only 11 songs on here. They could have put There's a Place, they could have put Misery, they could have put a lot of things on here, but they chose not to. Again, replica of the Capitol inner sleeve. And I want to say something, here's something really nitpicky. All of these albums have side 2 facing up. I know, nitpicky, but still. Stop that. Side 1 goes facing up, not side 2. Anyway, so you get all of these albums. Do you need this box set? I'm going to say probably not, because this is, like I said, this is going for $300 in some places. And I understand that there's a big thing where a lot of these weren't even available. A lot of record stores did not get a major percentage of their orders. I know the record store that I go to a lot, Riverbend Records in Godfrey, Illinois. I don't know how many he ordered, but he only ended up with 2. This would be one of them. So yeah, these are already hard to find. So if you have one of these, take care of it. It's probably going to be collectible, even though it's not essential. It's really not. Like I said, a lot of these albums are very common in the US. You can get these wherever, sometimes in great condition. It's mono, but it's not true mono. You know, it's the Capitol stereo fold down monos. Some of them are real monos, but if you really want that, you'd probably just get the UK releases anyway. Personally, I'm a big fan of stereo. I'm not a Capitol hater. I think the best thing that Capitol ever did was the Magical Mystery Tour album. It's like my second favorite Beatles album, and that doesn't, you know, Capitol did that. So I'm not a Capitol hater. I get it. The songs are a little souped up in reverb and enhancements. That's the way I heard them growing up. My stereo version of Meet the Beatles, which is a 1978 Wally pressing, sounds phenomenal. Not necessarily I Want to Hold Your Hand in This Boy, but songs like Don't Bother Me, especially, and I Want to Be Your Man, and It Won't Be Long, and I saw her standing there. They sound absolutely excellent on that album. The stereo Meet the Beatles that I have. The mono one, everything kind of sounds, I want to say, lifeless. Just a little bit lifeless, I guess. Kind of fatiguing. Kind of like, you know, it's okay. I can't really point to something and be like, this lacks bass, or this lacks... It does lack a little depth, but there's not a lot of depth in these recordings to begin with. But, yeah, it's just lacking life. You know, it just doesn't come to life like a lot of the stereo Capitol records and a lot of the original UK, both stereo and mono records. So, do you want to get this? Unless you're a collector and a Beatles fanatic that absolutely has to have everything, I would say probably not. Probably don't need this, especially at that price. I mean, $43 per album when you can buy some of these separately, pretty much all of them except for the Beatles story. Target stores in the US have an exclusive Meet the Beatles that's on blue vinyl that you might be interested in just for the collectability of that. And again, I think they really missed the mark with putting this in there. They could have made an exclusive album with the tracks on here that are not on something new, put some other tracks on there, original UK mixes, Salipdik, whatever, and made an album that would be exclusive to the box set. Or maybe made just a new Beatles album that you could buy separately. But yeah, a little bit of missed opportunity there. So did I really need this? No. And it has an apple on it. And it's 1964. Anyway, but I guess I'm glad to have it. But just some cautionary things there. The albums are not individually sleeved. Be careful with them. They have very glossy covers. The sound is basically a little more bass, a little more, you know, you can kind of pick out Paul's bass, a little more Ringo's kick drum. Is that worth, I mean, if you want really sound quality, you wouldn't get these anyway. You'd get the UK ones. So, I don't know. I'm not sure why I got... Oh,
hey, just go ahead and have a seat.
Excuse me.
I think I'm
in the middle of making a video. Hello?
Just go ahead and get yourself mic'd up, too.
What is... Hi, what's...
Robert James! How you doing? I bet you're all wondering why we are here today. We're here to help you, son. We're here to help you. Because I think looking around, I think you got a problem. I think you got a problem I could help you with. You got an addiction to material things. And your specific material thing that you got an addiction with is records and CDs. And it's got to stop. Because it's gotten out of control. See, you're not a young man anymore. You're getting up there. What are you, about 65, 70?
Okay, I am nowhere near 70, so...
Well, the point is that you don't have the time left in life to go ahead and listen to all these records and CDs and probably 8 tracks somewhere around here too. So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to sit around and you're going to listen to these people because they care about you.
Care? I don't even know these people. I mean, who? The important thing is that we're all here to help.
Well, now, we tried to get your family to come, but none of them were even interested. And then we tried to call up all your friends and see if they could make it. Then we realized, wait, it's a record collector. He don't have any friends. So we went ahead and invited these people, but they still care about you, even though you may not know who they are. Like this young lady here with the Led Zeppelin shirt on. She likes that Led Zeppelin, so we thought you would relate to her.
I said it was a cool shirt. I don't even know who Led Zeppelin is, so what? Who cares? Get over it.
The point is, we're all here to help you get over your record addiction. Buying Beatles box sets full of records that you already own about 3 times over, we thought it was time for an intervention. And we're gonna go ahead and start with this sweet young thing over here. She's got something she wants to say to you. God damn, girl.
So he has a huge record collection. Oh my God, who cares? I'm over it.
Don't you have something you're supposed to be reading?
Oh my God, okay, Robert, we care a lot about you, and we hate to see you going through this record addiction, and we're hurt, we're here to... I can't even read this. Oh my God.
I'll start. Okay, Robert, you got a problem here. Look at all of these records, all of these CDs. You're never going to have time to listen to all of this. What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's my life's passion. I mean, I've been collecting records and all this, and CDs and tapes since I was a child.
All I see is a fortune pissed away.
Well, it may look like a bunch of worthless records, but actually a lot of these have an extreme amount of sentimental value to me, and some of them even have actual value.
It looks like a fortune pissed away.
Let me tell you something, boy. And I'm gonna tell you straight. In fact, I'm serious, and I'm so serious, I'm gonna turn my chair around. That's how you know I'm serious. Not only am I going to turn my chair around, I'm going to turn my hat around. Because I want you to know, I'm looking at all these walls full of records and CDs, and it all looks real familiar to me. Looks like addiction. That's what it looks like. And I know addiction. Don't ask me how I know, but I know addiction when I see it. And all these walls, why, they might as well be a wall of heroin right behind me. That's what it looks like to me. Looks like somebody trying to fill a hole, trying to fill a void with records and more records and more records. Let me tell you something, son. That hole ain't never gonna be filled. It's just gonna stay there, and you're just gonna keep buying more and more records. Because I understand addiction. I've been down in the depths of addiction, okay? I've been in the bowels of addiction. I've looked addiction right in its anus. And let me tell you, I've seen some shit, okay? I've seen some shit. And it ain't no coincidence that you play these with a needle. Think about it.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, you think about that. God damn, man, that's pretty damn clever, actually. We playing with a needle, too. I'm surprised I didn't think of that.
I mean, what is going on? You walk in here with like chairs and microphones and a bunch of people. What looks like a TV crew?
Wait, am I on television? Oh my God.
All I know is that you used to be able to go to a yard sale and get a whole bunch of records for a quarter. A quarter. Beatles records. I remember I got a Beatles record one time for a quarter. I remember it had Last Train to Clarksville on it.
Well, you know what? You used to be able to get a tonsil tickler out behind Dottie's Body Shop for $5. But guess what? Times change. Prices change.
Oh, I don't think that was necessary at all.
Hang on. What was that again? Dorothy's, what?
It's not around anymore. It was a long time ago.
Oh my God.
Why don't you go ahead and mention one more time how you paid for that Beatles box set full of records you already got?
It was $300.
$300? Jesus Christ Almighty!
Mr. Jazz fan, you've been kind of quiet over there. You got anything to say to help out Mr. Robert? John Coltrane.
Thanks. That was helpful. Is duck facing still a thing?
The point is, Here is the solution if you will take it. This is what we're offering. We want to send you to record rehabilitation. And that is actually 2 months in the Bahamas at a record rehabilitation center. You will have no records, no CDs, no music of any kind. And you will reacquaint yourself with the more important things in life. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to go to record rehabilitation?
And so you're saying that I can go to the Bahamas for 2 months. Who's paying for it? Is this paid for? I can go to the Bahamas for 2 months.
You gotta go right now. No more waiting around, no more fiddling, no more farting, no more fucking around. You gotta go to record rehabilitation, and as a sign of good faith, I'm gonna have this woman right here pull out a record. You're gonna break that record.
Oh, honey, I'll get the record for you. Let's just pick one. Here you go.
Oh, no, not Dire Straits. Anything but that.
You're gonna break that record right in front of all of us. And that's gonna show that you are ready to go to record rehabilitation. 2 months.
Oh, I guess if it's gonna help, that's what's really important. I guess I could go ahead and break this Dire Straits record. Let me think about it.
Oh, that's right. That's
Amen,
what we
brother.
call a breakthrough. You just made a
Very
broken
proud of
record
you.
breakthrough, and we love it. Now, I think we're about ready to wrap this up. What we all need to do, I think, is a big group hug. A big group hug, everybody.
Yeah, that's actually probably not going to be possible.